Well, good morning. I love that. This class is going to be good since all of you are here early. That's a good sign. We usually tell the first year students if you sit in the front, you get an A, but I guess for parents, we'll have a little leeway there. I'm Carmen Colangelo, the Dean of the Sam Fox School of Design and Visual Arts, and I want to first of all start by giving you a big welcome and a big congratulations. Let's hear it to all the parents, yeah. I was thinking about this moment for you, but also for me. This is my 19th year here as the Dean. So really, I started here when your child was probably just coming into this world. So that means we've been preparing for you their whole life. And in some ways that's true, actually. I love this day because parents, this moment I think about, I'm a parent of three that went on to college, one in architecture, one in art, actually, so I can relate to a lot of you. I do notice that you look way younger every year, and it's nice to see and to celebrate with you your success, and we know that any student that gets into WashU is extremely well prepared academically and ready to be challenged, and this environment will prove to be both nurturing and extremely challenging in the ways that you would hope that it would be. So we're proud of you for your success. For how many of you is this your first student or child off to college? All right. You look pretty relaxed compared to past years, so we must be doing something right on campus. Second, okay, quite a few experienced in the room, look more relaxed. Third, all right, that's great. Okay, if anyone's fourth, they're gonna get a present from me. Anyone have four? Okay, well, congratulations again to all of you. We're going to have a series of presentations today, but really what we want this to do for you is to ground you a little bit in welcoming you here, but also to give you a little of an overview of what we do. We are unique in that we combine, as a school, the College of Art and the College of Architecture. Each of those programs you're going to hear more about is art, architecture, design, and design resides in both colleges in different ways that you're going to hear more about. So you're going to hear from our leaders, and I'm also going to share with you a little bit about our strategic plan, and I'm going to start that way. And the reason I'm going to start that way is I want to tell you that when I talk about this idea that this is the right moment for your student to be in an art and design school, it's a moment where many of the most important issues of the world need creative solutions, and designers can play a critical role. So we are producing artists, architects, designers, but we really are producing leaders and critical thinkers who are going to collaborate in an interdisciplinary way and define new territory to address the most important problems of the day and our future. So in a way, you are coming here to drop your student off, but you are here to participate in that future, and I hope you'll join us in doing that during the time that you're a parent of your student here and beyond for them as well. We have a strong alumni network. We can talk more about that later. We developed a strategic plan. Having been here 19 years, a couple things that I'll say. One is the vision was to unify the school both conceptually, which we talk about in this, and also physically. One of the things that we're proud of is being able to bring art and architecture design on the front door of campus in a research university. That's a critical piece of the whole equation. And we developed a strategic plan with the universities here in Next Plan that you're going to hear about. And there's three main areas that we emphasize, which I think are both our strategic initiatives and really values that we bring to the table as architects and designers. One is to respond to digital transformation, things like AI and other technologies that are definitely going to change the way that we do things and the way we can respond to things and will impact our humanity. Two, sustainable practices or environmental climate crisis. the designers and people that work in the built environment have a big impact on all of that. And number three, community. Community is essential, both our own local communities, but also our international communities as well. So I'm going to share with you, as you'll see me walk through our website a little bit, I'm going to share with you our strategic planning video. Let me see. It starts off with one of our superstars in the front row.
I think architecture and art are some of the most important players in dealing with the most complicated problems of our time.
Part of an artist's practice is to imagine a future. Whether you're starting with a blank canvas or a computer screen, those disciplines give us the tools to not only consider a different future, but also to see it come to fruition.
Well, there is a central focus on problem solving. Our students come with ideas about how their work will impact the community or how their work will impact the environment. How can they contribute in a positive way? In our strategic planning, as these ideas emerged, we really had to focus on three major initiatives that build on our core foundation of investments in the school: sustainable practice, digital transformation, and the third is really community, both our own St. Louis community and how we participate in the world, and our global connections, both in terms of research and study abroad.
So while all the great planning was going on with Sam Fox, the university itself was doing a broad strategic plan as well. It's clear that those two things are operating completely in sync. The Sam Fox plan will help reinforce the university and all of its higher objectives.
The first answer to why we should be engaging sustainability and climate change and the larger built environment is because historically we've been part of that problem. We have an ethical responsibility to be part of creating a better planet, a better world, and we have the skill sets to do that.
When you take something like climate change, it's bringing down and saying, well, how can we make something that addresses it, right? And inherent in that, there's a lot of optimism. We're going to think about what it is that we can do, and then we're going to start taking action on that.
We move so quickly through this world, we see things so fast, we create judgments, assumptions, and I think art is that moment where we can pause and think about those problems and think about that awareness. I think all disciplines have to start thinking about sustainability. It's not a decision, it's not a choice, it's a must.
Digital aspects of what we do will continue to change dramatically. With this comes advances in practice. It comes better ability to solve complicated problems in the world.
I'm doing user experience design for immersive technologies like virtual reality or augmented realities. Now I have the chance to design not only in the physical world, but also in the virtual world, and that's very exciting for me.
There is often an assumption that digital things are magical things, and that is by no means the case. As we get deeper into working with these things and making these things, we can't simply just be embracing them, we also have to be challenging them at the same time. So there is this sort of balance of a critical and social discourse alongside the excitement of new digital tools.
It's critical that if we want to be educating a generation of creative thinkers and designers and artists of the future, that we need to be using technology as a central point of spurring that thinking.
I think that there's a really powerful tool in handing the pen over and thinking about ways that people can create together, both as artists and architects. And doing it in concert with community members is really important.
The question of community engagement just gets to the core mission of the museum. You know, who are we here for? What is our purpose? And those are questions that we are, trying to expand outward.
I think art forces us to move out of the bubble that is WashU and brings us closer to people's homes, lived experiences. I think for our students at Sam Fox, they find connections because they get to meet people that have a wealth of historical knowledge that we can't bring into the classroom.
I think we just set up the entire school, the whole proposition as being a collaborative entity and giving structure to that.
I think complex ideas or trying to solve real-world issues does not take just one way of thinking. I think by virtue of them being complex, they'll require that multidisciplinary approach to them.
What that engagement really does is instill a sense of critical thinking, and that can be applied to any discipline across campus.
Architecture and social work felt disparate. Now I'm in the space, I'm seeing how they are connected and they should be connected. I want to be able to use design as a tool to help bring change to these big issues that we're seeing.
I personally think we're in the best position of any art and design school in the country. We're sitting on the front door of campus with amazing facilities that have been supported by the university's vision to really be an interdisciplinary center.
The students are this incredible creative force. It's like watching a symphony perform when you're in a studio together and everybody's working on this problem collaboratively.
I think everyone needs to embrace being an artist because art is thinking about the world in a creative sense, and we need creativity right now. And so this school's needed in the context of this institution and a wider world.
In my heart, the most exciting thing about this plan is that it's shaping the mind of future leaders, not just for our industry, but in the world. The possibilities are literally limitless here.
Thank you. We feel that way too. Very excited. Now I'm going to introduce you to our directors of the school, and I think I was going to go to the school here just to bring up these pictures. Again, unique structure. Joining us today are our directors and chairs of the undergraduate programs, but I also want to introduce you to Sabina Ekman, shown here, who is the director of and chief curator of the Mildred Lane Kemper Art Museum. Amazing collection, and we have outstanding exhibitions. The first one coming up is called Design Agendas, which will open on September 13th. But now I'd like to turn the mic over to two colleagues, both of the director, Amy Hoff, the director of the College and Graduate School of Art, and Aki Yoshida, who will follow as a new director of the College of Architecture and the Graduate School of Architecture and Urban Design. And as I bring them up, I want to tell you that as a way of telling you about all of the faculty that you'll meet and see, everyone is a practicing artist, designer, architect, scholar. Not any different for our directors. Amy Hopp, that's going to come up first, is an amazing sculptor. Her last show was at Mass MoCA. She had large-scale architecture in scale often, dealing with a number of different important issues of the day. And Aki Yoshida just joins us, and we want to welcome her, give her a welcome, because she had just joined us from Virginia Tech to be the new director of the College of Architecture and the Graduate School of Architecture and Urban Design. She herself is a licensed architect, practitioner, scholar, educator, and outstanding global leader. So let's hear it for both Amy and Aki. And let's start this with Amy, and we'll move to the PowerPoint, Amy. So here we go. You can either use either one.
I'll just use this.
Yeah.
Hello out there. We're super, super happy to welcome you. Very thrilled that you and your child are here at WashU and the Sam Fox School in particular. Carmen's already told you, I'm Amy Haupt, director of the College of Art and the Graduate School of Art, and I'm also a practicing sculptor. In our college, we teach studio art and design, and sometimes, damn, that's my College of Art thing. So in our college, we teach studio art and design, sometimes while canoeing on the Mississippi. I'm going to start by saying how much I appreciate what a great big deal it is to drop off your child at college and drive away. Our aim today is to show you in what good hands they are. We take our responsibilities seriously and work hard to generate a dynamic, challenging, and nurturing environment. I'm sure you're wondering how this is all going to work. how your child will adapt. Well, here's something you've already noticed. You heard Carmen keep talking about your child as your student. And it sounds awkward, but your kid is now your student in the way that we talk to you about them. So let's talk a little bit about how all this adapting is gonna work. We're excited that your student has joined us. Our incoming class for the College of Art is 97 freshmen and 3 transfer students from 25 states across the US and from 6 other countries, Thailand, South Korea, China, Nicaragua, New Zealand, and Canada. We develop individual relationships with each and every student in the College of Art during their time with us. Faculty and staff get to know all of them. Sometimes it literally feels like watching sped up flowers blooming. So much happens in the 4 years in our small classes. Of course, we know growth is not always easy, but I promise the rewards are enormous. By the time your student graduates, they will have produced countless pieces of work, gained a tremendous skill set, and with that, a new deserved autonomy as an artist or designer and as a person. Oops, I just did something wrong there. Sorry, 1 second. We're also excited about Wash U as a setting. In the heart of St. Louis, at the center of the United States, we're surrounded by rich cultural opportunities, both contemporary and historical, not to mention gastronomical. Art institutions, including the Pulitzer, the Contemporary Art Museum, SLAM, the Laumar Sculpture Park, flourish alongside the Botanical Gardens, the Cahokia Mounds, and the awesome design and engineering feat of the Gateway Arch. We have embedded myriad ways for students and faculty to take advantage of the distinct nature of this area. As your student begins their college experience, it's important to remember that transitions take time. Drawing classes, critiques, community projects, evening lectures, and rigorous grading may be new for some of them. However, what seems difficult in the first semester will be easier in semester 2 and business as usual by their senior year for sure. Your student will be surrounded by a supportive and challenging peer group, instructed by caring experts in a top-rate facility. They will surprise even themselves as to what they are capable. We so look forward to working with them in our classrooms and studios. It's a propitious time, as Carmen described, at Sam Fox and at WashU, and I, for one, cannot wait to see what they make. At this point, I want to talk a little bit about our curriculum. We start them with a series of foundation courses in drawing, in digital media, and in 2 and 3D dimensional design. Here you see some collaborative inflatables that came out of one of the 3D design classes. These courses introduce principles that they will need for advanced coursework and then eventually to create independent work. Our foundation courses literally function as the building blocks that support our students' eventual ability to function as professionals. They also introduce the format and experience of the critique and college-level grading. For each critique, your student will present their finished work to be considered, discussed, and debated by their classmates and instructor. At the foundation level, much of the work is made by hand, and some of it is made digitally. Marshaling a student's dexterity in these 2 realms is a crucial goal. Principles of drawing and composition from the first year apply to advanced courses as diverse as designing apps for the phone or building community-based sculptural installations. In their second year, students select their major, art or design, and from there begin their individualized path through their selected curriculum. The assignment constraints in the 3rd and 4th years eventually ease, allowing for more independent work, and the curriculum is designed so they can tailor their interests directly into the major. And everything culminates in the professional presentation of their work in their senior shows. In this instance, we're looking at last year's senior fashion show. Let me diverge here and take a moment to talk about the challenge of learning to manage college-level ambiguity while you look at a very old picture of me atop the central tower in a northern Italian hedgerow maze where I got hopelessly lost trying to get back out of the maze. In typical math and science classes, students are asked to complete problem sets to work out the correct answers. In art and design critiques, we have qualitative conversations in which faculty and students make judgments. Answers are less absolute, and perspectives can be wide-ranging. Students grow from learning to navigate and participate in these conversations. Again, it can take time for students to learn to manage the ambiguity that correct may not be possible or even the goal. By sticking with it, they become astute observers, thinkers, speakers, and makers, and they learn to be constructive in a community studio environment, an invaluable life skill. In fact, I'd go as far to say that among the many valuable skills learned in art school, the critical acumen developed through the critiquing process is likely the most valuable life skill students walk away with. This analytical ability is in short supply and valued in all work environments. Additionally, they become discerning visual thinkers, another commodity that is rare in the workforce. Students receive faculty feedback that may lead to remaking something, sometimes even from the beginning. This feedback is an opportunity for students to learn a primary aspect of the art and design process. Becoming a generator of many ideas and possibilities, and then an excellent editor of those ideas, is as important as making one masterful thing. We are teaching them to be fearless in thinking about what is possible. Yes, it's hard, but we're here for them. Faculty evaluate students for their individual progress and effort in relation to their peers and to professional standards. We value the development of independence, intellectual rigor, self-discipline, dexterity, motivation, authorship, resiliency, and, as I mentioned before, the ability to work in a community studio setting. These skills and qualities, along with the production of strong visual work, are crucial for a successful career in college and beyond. Our standards for grades are high. That said, it's important to remember success often starts with failure. A project that flops or a class that doesn't quite work out does not mean that your student is in the wrong place. It does not mean they will not make a first-rate artist or designer. I encourage you to take grades with a grain of salt and to encourage your student to do the same. In art and design, the work that gets made, the portfolio that gets produced, matters a great deal more than the grade. Working hard and investing fully is what matters. I thought it important to describe some of the teaching techniques so that you can better help your student through this college experience. Now let me tell you a bit about our two majors. Studio art is where they can study painting, photography, printmaking, sculpture, and time-based media arts, or some combo of those things. The program is chaired by Professor Megan Kirkwood, a photographer who, in her own work, records the landscape as a means to inform land use and infrastructure decisions. Megan, can you stand up so parents know who you are? Thank you. Okay, and just so that you know who to point your questions at if you've got someone who's interested in studio art. And in design, students can, in our other area of study is design, and students can study graphic design, illustration, interaction design, and fashion design, or some combo of those things. This program is chaired by Professor Aggie Toppins, who makes, teaches, and writes about graphic design. Here's an image of her about to be published and hotly anticipated textbook. Aggie, can you stand up so parents know who you are? And last, let's just talk about what your child's professional future might look like. Sam Fox students are special. They're smart, talented, and creative. And that creative part is like a superpower in the workforce. Most will become artists and designers. We have many, many alumni who are independent contractors as artists or illustrators or photographers or so on. Some may work in arts-adjacent careers, as for instance, arts administrators or perhaps arts editors. We have alumni working for Google, for Pixar, for Instagram. some who are set designers, hair accessory designers, book designers, editorial page designers. We have alumni working for fashion designers, artists, museums, and nonprofit institutions. We have alumni running arts institutions, curating exhibitions. We have alumni making all kinds of art and design. But most important, we have alumni who are excited and gratified by their working lives and what they contribute to our culture. So that's all I'm going to share for now. I know I could go on, but I'm going to wrap it up and just give you another big welcome from the College of Art to Sam Fox.
Well, welcome, everybody. I am thrilled to be here. I know that based on my experience of being welcomed and helped in smooth transition into my new role, I feel confident that your students, your children, will also be welcomed and transition well into college life here. I'd like to, since I am not as familiar as our faculty and chairs about the firsthand knowledge of what happens day to day, I am going to ask Constance Vail to speak about the curriculum and the activities that happen here. But before I do that, I'd like to share with you some aspects of this school that attracted me as a scholar, administrator, teacher, to be the director here. First and foremost, I have been impressed by the high quality of work that's done by both students and faculty. The faculty work is a nationally and internationally recognized, the highest level quality we can find. And in being a friend of the school for the past 6 years or so, I have attended final reviews and charrettes, design charrettes, and each time I've been impressed by the dedication of faculty and the quality of work that's produced. So it's a thrill to be here. Your children will receive holistic education in a world-class research university. So it is not just preparation for a professional career, of course, that is an important aspect of it, but a foundation, academic, holistic education. I have found the faculty, staff, and students to be very collegial, very friendly, very welcoming, and I hope that your children will find a similar environment here. Something that I think distinguishes WashU is the deep engagement with the community of St. Louis. St. Louis is like a laboratory for education, and we contribute to it as designers and try to improve the quality of life here. And the skills and experience that they gain in St. Louis are transferable. So it is not just specific to St. Louis, but these are skills that you could take to other cities across the US or across the world. So that's something we would like to emphasize. And there were a couple of aspects unique to WashU that I would not have found anywhere else. And it's this very particular sense of belonging as a Japanese-born, Japanese-American architect. You probably don't know that during World War II, when US citizens of Japanese descent were placed in internment camps, there were architecture students from across the country that were seeking to get architecture education or university education in general. And WashU happened to be one of the few places that opened doors to Japanese American architecture students. Gyo Obata, who is a very prominent architect not only in St. Louis, but world-renowned architect, started his career here in 1942 because this was one of the few places that he could start his architecture education. So he moved from Berkeley to here and graduated and established HOK. Another unique story has to do with this building that we're in. We are in Steinberg Hall, which was designed by Japanese architect Fumihiko Maki, who started his academic career here in the 50s. After graduating from Harvard Graduate School of Design, he came here as an associate professor, was commissioned this building as a very young architect in his early 30s, I believe, and continued to maintain a relationship with WashU, with the now Sam Fox School, and also designed the museum, Kemper Art Museum, right next door. So these are very unique legacies that exist here that gave me a sense of belonging, and my hope is that all students would be able to find that sense of belonging here. And the practices of inclusion as well as exclusion impact our students and faculty for decades to come, so we must be mindful of the environment that we create for our students and faculty and staff. I would like to now introduce fantastic Constance Vail, our Associate Professor and Chair of Undergraduate Architecture. She will share with you exciting academic visions that we have for your children here. She received her MArch from Yale School of Architecture and a BFA from Parsons School of Design. And she has been engaged in research with faculty from engineering on autonomous vehicles, specifically miniature architectural environments for testing autonomous vehicles. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. And Constance, please.
Thank you, Aki. And I was mentioning to Joseph that this slide is actually from our presentation last year as well. And it's from when Aki came here to do the Lasky charrette several years ago, one of the workshops our undergraduate architecture students participate in their sophomore year. So very fortuitous that she's actually speaking over this slide this year. We're really glad to have her. I'm so pleased to be one of the people here today able to welcome all of you to WashU. We're so excited and honored to have your incredibly talented student joining us here. And I'd like to begin by sharing a short introduction I prepared for the forthcoming issue of our undergraduate student work publication, Approach. And this year's theme, of course, agency, which I'll speak about in a minute. I have a few copies. If you want to peek at them pre-release, the publication launches on Tuesday, September 3rd. And there will be a student-run exhibition that's contemporaneous with that, where work from the past academic year that undergrad architecture students produced will be curated by the set of undergraduate approach curators and editors that work on the publication with me. So any of you that will be in town that day, it opens at 5:30, and your student can, of course, join us and get a copy of the publication there themselves. The theme, agency, was selected by the student editors who collaborated with me, and it speaks to building the future through the students' agency in their education and architecture's agency in the world. And I'll begin by sharing a quote from American journalist Sidney J. Harris. "The whole purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows." How do we prepare to build the future? We can't mimetically reflect what's already there, see what's already familiar, or look solely at our own knowledge. To imagine, to create, to really innovate requires turning mirrors into windows, projecting possibilities of what might be, opening up to new ideas, and framing a view not just of ourselves, but also of others. As architects, it's our task to envision other worlds, account for different perspectives, and act as agents of change. The College of Architecture at WashU believes in the profound agency of architecture in the world. The role of architect extends far beyond the creation of the built environment that simply mirrors the past or the present. Architecture encompasses looking ahead to transform practice and theory by assessing the broader implications of our designs. This means we're positioned to shape not only the built environment, but also culture itself. Architects can and should challenge prevailing norms, question established practices, and drive innovation that addresses today's most complex challenges. To prepare students for building the future, our curriculum recognizes the intrinsic importance of students' agency in their own education. Our newest volume of approach embodies its topical focus on agency in that the theme was created with these student editors, the first edition that I'm aware of to have student editors incorporated. And this directly illustrates the student body's pivotal engagement as contributors to academic discourse and school culture. Along with these student editors, each of our faculty, students, and staff that form our school's culture by contributing to our collaborative, diverse, inclusive, and supportive learning environment. The slides I'll show momentarily are drawn from this upcoming issue and frame a nonlinear view of foundational and advanced coursework, providing a sense of the atmosphere of creative energy in the College of Architecture. The 5 sections are focused on these key research areas that permeate our curriculum and are prioritized as 5 tracks that your student will be the first to be required to select in their second year. And this is in the hopes to cultivate a process of engaging with their knowledge area that they want to develop, the things that might drive their career in the future, how to think about the graduate schools that they want to apply to in relation to thematic interests that come up in their work, things that they really want to invest their attention and energy in, their sort of purpose in their education. These 5 categories include environment, technology, society, history, and practice. The first 3, environment, technology, and society, you'll recognize from our university and Sam Fox School strategic plans, but also are the 3 categories focused on our core studio sequence and some of our electives that are stitched into that. Our curriculum is designed to empower your student to be the architects of their own education. They first survey the field in core studios, focusing on also seminar courses in ecology, history and theory, technology, and representation. They then take on increased agency by choosing advanced studios and electives that further hone in on transdisciplinary expertise by selecting their track, and even in some cases pursuing our minors in architecture, history and theory, landscape architecture, or urban design, or even other majors or minors across campus. By blending disciplinary and transdisciplinary outlooks, our curriculum prepares students to contribute to redefining architecture's role in the world. Such disciplinary expansion is crucial as many of the most challenging problems of our time, climate change, technological ethics, social injustice, are so complex that they require multiple intelligences and robust collaborations. So our students focus on environmental concerns, as I said. In the very first studio, they'll start in just week 1. They begin to address issues of climate and a vast array of life forms and sort of ecological concerns as they design a small pavilion in relation to a ground, keep it simple. They'll also include have opportunities to engage with things like the Solar Decathlon. This is an occupational therapy center that's undergone many iterations since this studio and is being headed by Professor Hongxi Yin. Or this ceramic 3D printing and innovative facade design focused studio with Professor Kelly Van Dyke Murphy. That leads into our students also embrace new technology, engaging with game design and the kind of engagement that it proposes with the built environment and design processes, AI and design, including explorative seminars that work with generative AI to test how we can reshape the way we think creatively, and AI in space, considering, for example, related to my research, how AVs might be integrated to create safer, healthier, and more climate-friendly and equitable cities. In terms of other areas, there's a focus on society, and you can think of this related to community. and a housing tower that they'll work on in their third year, sited in Chicago, when they'll travel there to see the city as a class and address a civic component of that tower, engaging with the city. They'll also have opportunities to work on human scale objects, things like this class focused on jewelry that questions bodily autonomy, works with our casting facilities in the foundry, and another of our workshops where students were making hats, but those were widely interpreted. These are very close to hats. Over a 3-day period, and working with Yasmin Vobis, who came to do House is a Hat as a seminar with a short workshop with them. Additionally, those are compounded by classes that focus on history, culture. Of course, we travel to Florence for the summer and the fall semester, and look at another culture engaging with the city directly. We also have classes like this one, a studio that addresses complex social justice problems, like Professor John Holes, which designed a museum to house the Clotilda slave ship. And additionally, looking at the impact of the Japanese internment during World War II and the significance of Japanese-American architects' contributions, like Matsumoto with Kelly Van Dyke Murphy. And lastly, practice, and this is thought of in somewhat broad terms, really linking up with entrepreneurship as well. Designing, in this case, inflatable furniture, working through with objects that are typically discarded and using those to make sculptural artifacts that then translate into furniture. Working with our faculty that's actually across architecture and art, Lindsay Stouffer, to make more conventional furniture, but still experimental and very progressive. And studios like this one with Kelly that examine single-family housing with an artist residence and gallery, or fabricated drawings with Professor Chandler Ahrens, exploring tectonic systems, the way we might build, materialize things in the world. So with that all said, our faculty encourages the curiosity required to foster new knowledge by providing students with the tools to seek information and the confidence that whatever they're searching for, that mystery, is far more interesting than anything they come here already knowing. Our comprehensive foundational architecture curriculum, paired with the transdisciplinary perspectives that our students engage with, prepare them to be leaders in the field, not mirroring the world as it is, but opening windows to see what it can become. Many of our students go on to enter traditional architecture practice, working from within the discipline to determine its future, while others draw on spatial thinking and creative problem solving they honed during their education to pursue a diverse range of creative practices. And they bring that influence of architecture, pushing the field in new directions, other fields in new directions. We have complete confidence in our graduates, those joining us in this class, your students, those before and those to come, and that they will play a vital role in changing the world for the better as they go on to build our future. Thank you.
Okay, I see a lot of familiar faces out there, so welcome back, and to the new faces, welcome. I'm Joseph Fitzpatrick. I'm the Associate Dean of Students. No matter how many times I hear it, I love hearing about our curriculum as it's presented by the faculty. And if you had seen a session with me before, we've talked often about the community in which education occurs and why you choose a school like WashU, because I've probably told some of you, you could, as a student, pursue these skills on your own, or seek it out. You could live in your basement and get a lot of stuff online. But you choose to come to an art and design and architecture education because you want to be among artists, designers, and architects, and you want to do that in community, and you want to collaborate. And so that is one of the through lines of both of those presentations you just saw. If you're pursuing art and design or architecture, there's a lot of commonalities there. So what I want to talk about now is the support structure that's around your student as they go through this. I love this weekend because it's full of potential. As you move your student into their housing, you're getting them settled, you're going to these presentations over the course of the week. They're going to learn about new resources, they're going to start to make new friends, they're going to start to learn the people that they're going to spend time with. And everything that we've shown you is examples of other people's work, it's examples of the classrooms, the maker spaces. It's just brimming with potential. And at some point, we're going to put up in some future presentation your student's work, or a picture of your student in one of these spaces, and another group of parents is going to sit here and listen to us talk about that. And I love just how that refreshes over and over. So, an important part then is let's talk about our relationship. That's really why I brought you all here today. So, you have showed up with your student and you have expectations. You demand excellence from WashU and from the Sam Fox School, and we're going to live every single day trying to meet that expectation. So as a result of that, I have 3 things that I'm going to ask you as part of our relationship as I go through this presentation. So the first thing I want to talk about is the basic support structure. So I am one of the 4-year advisors. The other one is John Early, who's a senior lecturer and our undergraduate academic advising coordinator. Between the two of us, we have had interactions with all the incoming new students for Sam Fox. We've done group advising, we've done individual advising with them, we've been corresponding through email, and so many of you have maybe even seen some of the things that we recorded, or maybe even sat in on a session such. So as a 4-year advisor, we will work with your student throughout their entire time that they remain at Sam Fox. But in addition to that, in year 2, we're going to add a faculty advisor who's a subject matter expert within their area. So it's either within architecture or it's within art and design. In addition to that, if your student chooses to pursue a second major or a minor, they're going to pick up a second major advisor, going to pick up a minor advisor. And then as they go throughout, they're just going to add more and more people to their support structure. As being a part of the school, they're part of a specific career community that's going to come out of the Center for Career Engagement that's going to have people helping them focus on what comes next. As they start to work within their residential environments, as they start to join clubs and organizations, as you can see, there's always just going to be more and more layers of that. So one of the things first is that today, unlike any other time in history, you have more ways to stay connected to your student on a daily basis than any other group of parents and families that ever come before you. So between phone, between text, between FaceTime, between social media, between all of those, you have more ways to stay connected to them. When I went to school, a gift of a 1-800-COLLECT card was actually a big deal, right? When Carmen went to school, it was carrier pigeons to send messages home. So we know that you're connected to them on a daily basis. So as you are talking to them, one of the questions that I would ask you, this is my first ask of you, was when you're checking in, did you go to class today? Or yesterday, or this week, whatever time period. So I often get asked, what makes a WashU student successful? What makes a Sam Fox student successful? Now there's a long list that I could give you, there's a medium list, but I'm going to really break this down to one specific item. They go to class. So as the nature of this as a collaborative educational environment, we are all about experiential learning. It's the foundation of the studio that they're going into. And you can't do that if you don't show up. So I'm going to tell your students this tomorrow as well. But that's where you can help us. Because if you are talking to them and you say, did you go to class today? And they say no, then you need to say, why not? Now, there are legitimate reasons not to go to class. And so whatever is stopping them from going to class is really what supporting their academic success is about. So there could be personal reasons why they're not going to class. There could be academic reasons why not. But whatever is at the core of why they didn't go to class is what we need to immediately start talking to them about. You didn't go to class because you weren't feeling well. Okay, what do we have available for you? The Health and Wellness Center, what other sort of resources can we connect you to? I didn't go to class because I was nervous about this paper and I don't feel good about it. Oh, well, there's a writing center. We could talk to them about that. We could work on that. We can always dive further down into that. But if you don't go to class, then you'll start to not do your assignments, you'll fall behind, it becomes a snowball. In the 20 plus years that I've been working with students, I have never seen a student who had perfect attendance who failed a class. There may be one or two out there somewhere. But now the difference between and the distance from not failing and an A is a long way to go. And that's everything you just learned in that curriculum as far as how they're going to engage with that. But it starts with showing up. So, as you are now embarking on this journey, this represents the relationship between you, the school, and your student. So your student is flying that jet that you see. You are in that tower. You are the air traffic controller. Now, WashU, we're the navigators. We provide all of those resources, the compass, the maps, the radar, all of those sort of things. So everything that you have done up to this point has been preparing your student for this moment. You sent them to flight school, you maybe even took them up in the air, you were their co-pilot for a while, and we thank you for that, because that's what got them here. But now you're at that point where you gotta let them start flying the plane themselves. Now the great thing about being the air traffic controller is that you're gonna be in constant contact with them. You're gonna talk to them about that. If they're gonna reach out to you, you're gonna say, hey, there's some turbulence ahead. Or you're gonna say, hey, we might have to redirect. We might have to do those sort of things. And please continue to do all of that. But the one thing you can never do for them, you can't fly the plane for them. They have to fly themselves. I can't fly the plane for them. Carmen can't fly the plane for them. None of these amazing faculty can fly. They have to fly the plane. So the second thing then that I'm gonna ask of you is there's gonna come a moment where they're gonna reach out to you and they're gonna feel like the world's falling apart or any number of things. I'm not feeling well, I'm feeling homesick, I can't do this, other students are better than me. Any of the amazing things that go through their head that you're like, wait. Now you know them best. So the thing I ask you is when you get that moment is 8 words. Affirm what they're feeling, let them know that you care about them, but the phrase that you want to say to them, what are you going to do about that? My father did that for me when I was in college. I went 1,300 miles away. I had one of those 1-800 calling cards. Remember calling him up. Can't even really tell you what it was the issue, probably something to do with my dining plan or something like that. And he listened. He said, that sounds frustrating. What are you going to do about that? And I've carried that with me to everything in my life for the whole rest of the time, every time I encounter something. So, what are you going to do about that is one of the best things that you can do and help walk them through that. Now, if they then encounter more and more obstacles, that's where you reach out to us and you say, hey, this is what they've tried or it's not working or how can we help? So we're not only helping navigate them, we're helping navigate you too. And so that's my invitation to always reach out. If you need some clarity around a policy, a procedure, a timeline, any number of those things. We try to be transparent. We try to put that out on websites. We try to make that available. But we understand there's a lot to navigate as you're going through this experience. So please feel free to reach out to us if they do encounter issues. So, yes, I want them to go to class, and I know I'm going to emphasize that a lot, but we also understand college is not just about going to class. Those who are successful also find ways to be engaged. So we want to encourage engagement as much as possible, and as parents and family members, you can do that as well when you're encouraging them to utilize the many different resources. Now, this is just a small sample of engagement opportunities. They've been introduced to many through the materials they've received over the summer. Throughout the course of the rest of the orientation this week, they're going to be introduced to even more of those. In particular, within Sam Fox, we have student councils for both architecture and art that serve as representatives of our undergrad student population that work with our chairs and our directors to help give feedback about the experience. We also have many other sort of specialized organizations that sort of fall within the field similar to others you would find across WashU based on their academic areas. But we also have over 400 student groups that they can join with any number of interests they have. There's ways they can get involved in their residence halls. They can go to theater productions. They can go to public lectures. There is so much to embrace and enjoy at being at a college and a university like this. So my third thing I'm going to ask you to do, and I'm going to introduce this to them tomorrow, but you can help encourage it as well, as the 30-day challenge. So some of our students come to us and they're extrovert. Some of our students are artists and designers who are introverted. So for the introverts in particular, the 30-day challenge is every single day, introduce yourself to one new person. Because that is manageable for almost anybody. It can be overwhelming. There's so many people, so many different resources, so many things to get involved in, those sort of things. But if just every single day you introduce yourself to one person. Now, they've already done that. Some of them, it's their roommate. It's someone who lives next door. It's their RA. They can come to the events. It can be the faculty member who's doing class that day. It can be the person they sit next to. It can be me. I do count, so I'm allowed. It can be any number of us. But the idea is that as you start to build and introduce yourself to people, you're building your network of how you're going to be successful during your time here, which is also establishing all the skills they're going to need to be successful after they leave here. So if you do that, one new person every single day, after 30 days, you already know 30 people. And then it's just going to continue and go from there. And over the course of 4 years, you're going to have an incredible network around you. So that really is my 3 requests for you as our relationship continues going forward. So now we are going to open it up for questions. Carmen's going to come back up. You can ask him the hard questions.
Thank you, Joseph. Yeah, let's open it up to questions. Any of us are available to answer questions that might not have been covered. It's a lot of information. Hopefully that helped to get a good overview of things. Any questions, though, about anything about the program or study abroad or the future? You're just all good. Yeah, thank you. This question is about their second major, Joseph, so I'm going to let, as the advisor, talk about the way to approach that.
So the selection of the second major kind of goes along with the idea of selecting a primary major. So as it was mentioned earlier, when you have these different options in the program, it's really within the second year, fall of second year, that we ask that you start to zero in on what that's going to be. Some students come in already knowing what their second major is and has been talking to us as advisors, so we've started to take a look at what prerequisites, what intro courses. But one of the things I'm going to say about second majors and minors in general is they are fantastic, but they're not necessary. We do encourage interdisciplinary approaches across all of WashU, and we all work across the schools to try to make that happen. But sometimes students want to pursue a second major or a minor because it's pre-curated for them. It's a set of classes, take this combination, that will then walk out with an additional credential attached. Some students are entrepreneurial and will just choose to curate their own idea. And that's actually perfectly fine too. So we just don't want them to feel the pressure because the student next to me has a major, a second major, and 2 minors. That may be perfect for them. For the next student, it may be just more of, I want to put together my own collection of classes on that. But really, by the start of the second year, we really want to start to figure out so that we can make sure that we are outlining that degree path as best as we can. If it's in one of the other schools, we're probably going to connect them to an advisor in that school so we can make sure that once again, adding to that group of advisors and support staff, they're getting the best information they can.
Great. We really have designed the curriculum and the options to allow for this to happen in many ways. We also like to say that we should never feel that the students should feel obliged to do a second major. That's often sometimes a mistake if they try to take on too much. But because we've designed both the BFA and the BA options, and also in architecture have the Bachelor of Science and the BA options, we've left a lot of flexibility in curriculum. We've designed some opportunities. So I think along with working with the advisor, working closely with the faculty to understand what the goals are really important. I think everyone encourages it, but we also discourage this idea that sense of obligation that more majors makes you better somehow. It often does the opposite effect. There's so much, if it makes sense for that student, we try to encourage it and nurture it.
Thank you for the great introduction. And for the studio, are students allowed to stay overnight? And if so, is there any security and safety measure that we have?
Well, this is another thing that we've worked hard on, is this idea of studio culture. We do allow the students to work through the night, and we have, though, tried to discourage this idea of working, from a safety perspective, it's a very safe campus. They're safe to work at night. From the perspective of, the campus is safe. But from a health perspective, it's less than safe, I would say, because it's been a culture of our practices, especially historically in a field like architecture, but Constance and many of our colleagues have done a lot of work to flesh out this idea. And Constance, it might be nice to talk about studio culture a little bit from an architect's perspective. There's both a mythology and a reality about working all night that some students feel, again, obliged, and they're wrong, because rest is very important. I like to even just quote back into thinking about Da Vinci speaks very much about the notion of stepping away from your work and taking time away, not only sleeping, but there's a beautiful park right there, taking walks, exercising, eating well, all of these things. But said, before I turn over to Constance, sorry about that, come on. I do want to say it is a very safe environment, and our number one priority is the student safety.
Yeah, and as Carmen said, there is a little bit of a legacy in architecture, of having really long hours, pulling all-nighters, and we really try to discourage the students from doing that. We talk about time management, how to better use your time when you're in studio in order to avoid pulling an all-nighter. We really don't want them to be in that kind of a situation, and we're really careful with the assignments and breaking things into manageable chunks, especially early in their curriculum, to avoid that. I've spoken with Carmen about the sort of mythology of the 10,000 hour rule and people trying to rush through that 10,000 hours. In fact, this is not really scientifically correlated 100% as much as Malcolm Gladwell pushed it. Awesome, it's very convincing. But if you don't sleep, you actually lose creative capacity. It impacts that directly. So it's so important to sleep, to eat, to exercise. These are things that it's even hard to maintain once you're at a professor level, but it's very important and something that we really want to have them cultivate as they're building up the way that they will work for the rest of their life.
I like to throw in, though, something that is the other side of the coin that you might not understand fully if you're not involved in creative practice sometimes, is there's a tremendous amount of joy that happens in the studio. So while you're there long hours, and it's not like this, it could be portrayed as, oh my God, it's terrible, but it's beautiful too. So they want to be working in community, they want the time, the facilities, and all of those things. So, sometimes you'll hear different things about it, but there's a lot of joy that happens in the hours in the studio. Long hours and hard work, which I'm sure all of you are used to. More questions?
We have one back here, but I do also just logistically, all of the buildings do actually secure, and students are issued an ID card, and so that does, provide that extra layer of security. Campus police also do regularly go through the buildings in the evenings so that there is a presence there. You've probably also seen around campus, there's blue lights that are also outside of the buildings and such, and so those are things that we ask students to become familiar with. There's also a safety app. A lot of this information is provided to them throughout orientation. So in addition to the sort of mental health of not overdoing it, I just want you to know that on a physical level, there is also these additional components with that, so that if they are working in the evenings, there is presence, but then there's also ability to get back to their residence hall at night. They can contact, campus safety, and they can do escorts and those sort of things. So the shuttle service and those sort of things, those is what the students will learn as they understand what their rhythms are throughout the day and evening. Because sometimes we just have students who are night owls and do some of their best work at night. So, and then I have a question back here.
Hi, I have a question about art supplies. Does school provide those for students, or we have to purchase for them?
Who wants to talk? You want to do this, Megan?
Okay. Hi, yes, so with respect to art supplies, it's going to depend on the class. So with a lot of classes, students pay a material fee, and that material fees cover things that are for student assignments or things that are like you're going to buy in bulk. So for example, in photography, we provide all the students with a starter pack of paper that they're going to need to complete their assignments. We also use that to pay for their ink costs for the semester. But they may still choose to do a project that uses, for example, a different type of paper, or maybe something that would a different type of film, or something where they may choose to get something in addition to what they provide through their material supplies. So wherever possible, we're trying to use material fees to bring forward what students need to have for the class. But on the very first day of class, students will be going over their syllabi with their professors, and they'll talk pretty in detail about what they need for the class, what's covered through their material fees, and what they need to be purchasing. Okay. Does that answer the question? Thank you.
Yeah.
How does campus recruitment look like for architecture? How do you place students? How many go to grad school?
Oh, yeah.
Can you repeat the question for those of us in the back?
Yeah, I think we're really talking about now placement postgraduate, right? So, I mean, I'll make some general comments. Maybe I'll let either Constance or Aki speak about the profession in architecture. First of all, I know for a fact that our students, especially our undergraduate students, are highly sought after for the best MArch programs. So thinking about this to understanding it is, we were one of the first schools that started the 4-2 model. So there are different models in programs, the 5-degree Bachelor of Architecture and what we do, the BS, and then they're often placed in 2-year architecture programs. We have a very high number of percentage of our top students that go to graduate school. And that placement is phenomenal. I mean, those schools want our students. They compete for our students. They all have multiple choices to go to the best Ivy Leagues in the country. And on the professional level, we do a very good job with placement. We have a huge network, both nationally and internationally. And so the success rates for architects to go from a BS, they can go into practice, but eventually if they want to get licensed, they're either going to need a professional degree, or they're going to need hours to work towards licensure. Aki, would you like to add, or?
I can speak from somebody who came from outside of WashU that WashU students absolutely have a reputation for excellence, and they are sought after by some of the top architecture graduate schools. I spoke with a former dean of an Ivy League school when I accepted this position, and she immediately said, I was so impressed by the culture and the students' work at WashU after visiting here 10 years ago that she actively recruited WashU students. So the students will be very well prepared.
I'll tack on that our students, not only do they have these amazing elite options that they can pursue, but also internally there's a lot of funding opportunities that they can get from the Sam Fox School should they choose to continue here. And then they are definitely in the 4+2 trajectory and have a pretty direct path to enter the field. We have a number of students that, if you're students interested to know about applying to any university, including our own for graduate school, who are on site in some cases because they've come back to WashU for graduate school, and we can certainly set up opportunities for them to talk both to our recruitment staff, but also to students that have returned, as well as students in our network that keep in very good touch with us and who have gone on to graduate schools, many of which you could list off right now for me, I have no doubt. So yeah, they're very ambitious, focused, usually right around their junior to senior year, and I've been reviewing portfolios even this summer to try to help them prepare their applications.
I was wondering, maybe Aggie could just mention similarly for designers, because it's a little different trajectory. Amy gave a good overview of the diversity of things that our students in art do, but maybe Aggie could talk a little bit about the design.
So I'm speaking mostly about communication design, which includes things like interaction, illustration, and graphic design. I don't know what our statistics are, but we have a lot of students go on to some of the top-ranked MFA programs in graphic design. We had a student a couple years ago go to the Harvard GSM, even though she was a graphic design undergrad, she went into like a researchy kind of urban design master's degree. So our students have a lot of interdisciplinary opportunities here. They can often continue to study the same field at the terminal degree level, or they can even switch fields sometimes. So we have a lot of success. Oh, I should also mention, a lot of our students also, we have had a number of students stay here and go on to our MFA in illustration program, which is one of the best illustration programs in the world.
I want to mention too, I'm an artist, and I've seen more students in recent years, their trajectories coming out of school have been quite phenomenal. Many of our MFA students and our BFA students are going on to pretty impressive careers as artists. So there's also a very, we don't often define the artist as a job. That's the job. The artist is a life, and trajectory. But our students, I think, overall, where their strength is in that they're coming out of a research university, especially undergraduates. So they're super, typically good critical thinkers who also have a pretty impressive skill set, so they're sought after by a variety of different employers.
This is just a quick question. So the materials fee that you mentioned, have we already paid for that, or will that be something we pay for later?
The materials fee,
Typically, those are attached to the courses. So sometimes we use the term material fee and course fee interchangeably. And so that would have been attached to the courses and rolled into the tuition package that you should have seen. The only caveat would be is if they change a class here within the first couple weeks, then that could be an adjustment that you'll see. And so then as you go forward into future semesters, courses may have it. When the students look up a course, the course and material fee is listed with the listing. And so that's always something they can see prior to choosing to enroll in the course.
That said, I'm just going to say this. Materials can be a challenge, right? Because there's a shared material fee that people share materials. Certain areas it's more easily done, like printmaking or photography, or some parts of sculpture. But it can be difficult when students have challenges, both in terms of physically getting materials and then the expense of getting materials. So I just want to add here, we do have funds available for students that have need that they can apply to get help and assistance when it comes to the cost of materials also. So that's just something I want you to be aware of and not have them be shy about asking. It's online, but they can also, it speaks to this idea of also advocacy for themselves and speaking up when they have needs, either with their faculty. But you will hear from time to time a frustration probably about getting materials because our art stores move further away from campus, so that can make it more difficult. Back over there.
Just a quick question about computers. Mac versus Windows, is there anything that either student is going to miss out on by not having one or the other? Because I know it's very heavily Mac skewed here, but my daughter would prefer to work on a Windows laptop, so for the comp design major.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that? It is mostly Mac based, and yeah.
I don't have a lot to say about this, but because as long as the student knows how to use their machine, it should be okay. But faculty usually use Apples. We're trained on Apples. So there are times in critique where I'm like, wait, struggling with the buttons a little bit on a student's PC. But as long as they know how to use their machine, they can often do the same. I have not seen a situation where they can't do the same things. The students they can subscribe to the Adobe suite on either platform. And that's principally in communication design. It may be different in other fields. I do want to say that we have a pretty phenomenal educational technologist who works with our students too. And I'm pretty sure he's familiar with both platforms pretty well, so can help answer questions. Students can go to this person when they are struggling with technology or the printer, and he's really amazing in helping answer questions too. What's that? His name is Dimitri Jackson.
And for architecture, generally our technology office recommends PC. That said, I work on a Mac. The only things that are really difficult to access on a Mac, if your student already has one, I would definitely just let that go and let them work on a Mac. And within a year or two into the program, they're not going to do highly demanding digital tasks that would require a very high functioning computer. So they can usually rely on the labs for anything that would really churn a lot, but they probably won't have to do that. And then if it becomes clear that they need a more advanced computer because they're doing complex digital work, that don't act now, wait until later. But honestly, I think that they're following the sheet that the office sends out that gives some of the specs for what we suspect your student will need on their computer, and generally, prefer a PC, but I think Macs are fine for architecture.
We're going to take one more question, and then we'll wrap it up. What about the software? Yeah, well, each class will talk about the software, and we do have packages like with Adobe and others. So we have, but all of the software will be part of the instructions at the beginning of class. We'll discuss. Yeah. Do we need to buy the software? No. Not ahead, right? The software.
The primary to start will be the Adobe Suite, and they'll be introduced, if they haven't already, on how to download that, because they'll get the student discount, and we actually charge that directly to the students with the discount, so all Sam Fox students have access to the Adobe Suite. I'll be introduced to them during the first week of school.
Okay, because it's noon and because you probably have lunch to get to with your student or your child, let me once again congratulate you. Thank you for making the commitment and supporting your student to come to Washington University and to the Sam Fox School. We are very happy that you're here and just want to know that we're here for your student, and we're here up here in front for a little longer if you have individual questions for us as well. So thank you very much.